Hey, how's it going, YouTube? I'm back in the video, and today I'm talking about why the Houston Rockets are going to fail in the NBA playoffs. Now, if you're a Houston Rockets fan and you're watching this video, please don't just automatically dislike the video because of what I said, because yes, there is a chance that y'all can go on a great run and make it to the NBA Finals or the Western Conference Finals. Y'all are a very, very talented team. So don't get me wrong, don't think I'm saying that the Rockets are just an overrated team or anything, because I'm not. I'm getting to reasons why I don't think they're going to be very successful in the playoffs, but I mean, I could be wrong. So don't just dislike the video because of the title if you're a Houston Rockets fan. Yeah, and I mean, like I said, they could go on a big run. They do have the pieces to do very good, and they do have kind of a unique system, but I'm getting to a whole bunch of reasons why I don't think the Houston Rockets will be good in the NBA playoffs. So if you do like the video, aim point, hit the like button and subscribe button. It would mean the absolute world to me. And without further ado, without rambling on too much, let's get right into this video. Alright, so the first thing I'm getting to for this video is going to be both of their star players' track records in the playoffs since joining the league. And obviously their two star players are Russell Westbrook and James Harden. Now both of these players obviously are extremely good regular season players. They both have won MVPs. James Harden probably should have won more than one MVP. Russell Westbrook's averaged a triple-double in the regular season. But I mean, in the playoffs, both of them seem to kind of falter out, especially as of late in their career. So the first player I'm getting to for the track record is going to be Russell Westbrook. Now, Russell Westbrook hasn't really had any playoff success since joining the league, where in 2012, he did make the NBA Finals. Yes, I think they lost in 5, but hey, they still made the NBA Finals at a very young age. But since then, they have really had almost no playoff success with Russell Westbrook. As the very next year, he only played 2 games, so he didn't really have a chance to be successful in that year's playoffs. And then the very next year, they didn't even make the NBA playoffs. And then after that, they went on to make it all the way to the Western Conference Finals, where they'd be facing the Warriors, got up 3-1, and proceeded to choke that series away, which really affected them, as Kevin Durant went on to leave for Golden State after that season. So I mean, for them not to be able to make the playoffs when you're up 3-1 in the Western Conference Finals against any team is absolutely ridiculous, and it just shows an inability for Russell Westbrook to close out a series. Now, yes, Kevin Durant had fought in it too, but Russell Westbrook was just as big of a part of that team as Kevin Durant was that season. So, I mean, Russell Westbrook, although he did make the Western Conference Finals, he did show that he might choke a series, and 3-1 is an extreme choke, especially in the Western Conference Finals, and in the fashion that they did end up choking that. And then, ever since 2017, he was bounced in the first round despite having players like Carmelo Anthony, Victor Oladipo, and Paul George on his team all of those seasons that he was bounced in the first round. So I mean, and plus you have good role players like Steven Adams, Roberson, Grant. I mean, they had more than enough talent to get past the first round, and last season was pretty much the last straw for Westbrook, I guess. That's why he left Oklahoma, when they proceeded to lose in the first round to the Portland Trail Blazers, despite having Paul George and himself, and probably the better team overall as well. And they ended up losing in, 6 games? So I mean, that was just absolutely ridiculous, and Westbrook hasn't really shown since 2017 playoff success, despite being one of the best regular season performers in the NBA. And now my second player I'm getting to is obviously going to be James Harden. Now, James Harden's a little bit notorious for underperforming in playoff games, which I don't know if that's entirely true. I think it's more due to the system that they run, that why he underperforms, but I'm getting to that a little bit later in this video. So, I mean, James Harden, although he has won a good bit of games in the playoffs since he started his career, he has not shown any chances of beating Golden State. The one time he came close was when they were up 3-2, and I mean, he still could not win one of the next 2 games to move on, which led to obviously the Warriors making the NBA Finals once again, and the Houston Rockets' chances of ever beating the Warriors really went down the drain with that, as Chris Paul left the next season, I'm pretty sure, or the season after that, and I mean, they just never came close to beating the Warriors again after that. So maybe Westbrook will be different, but I just don't see them being able to get over the hump of the best teams in the Western Conference going into the playoffs, because both players have shown very inability chances of beating good teams in the playoffs. But now my second reason, should I say, is going to be their system that they actually run. Now, I kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, very briefly in this video. The system that they run currently is a very good system for the regular season, but once they make it to the playoffs, it's pretty much the reason they struggle so much. So, I mean, obviously Doug Anthony, he focuses way more on offense than he does defense, and he's actually known as an offensive mastermind for the Houston Rockets. But I mean, defense has been a very big struggle for them for the past few seasons, but they've been one of the best offensive teams, so it really doesn't matter. And it's more the way that they play their offense is why they always struggle, because I mean, their offense cannot run anywhere near as efficiently as most teams in the playoffs because they run so much isolation plays. They currently lead the league in isolation plays percentage per game, which means they do pretty much all their offense is based off of James Harden one-on-one or Westbrook one-on-one, as they're really the only two players on the team that can do those one-on-one situations consistently and beat their man every single time. But I mean, the reason this is so inefficient in the playoffs is because in the regular season, teams don't have as much time to game plan for you. They don't have as many games to adjust to you, so it works out a lot. But now when you're in the playoffs, teams are going to only focus on Westbrook and James Harden and try to focus on them, letting them isolation as least as possible, and when they do, they're probably going to double team them when they drive. So I mean, they're going to only focus on those two. They're going to be able to adjust on how to defend them both one-on-one, and they're going to be able to watch game plan and game plan very heavily around those two players, and now teams only have to focus on shutting down one or two players every night instead of the entire starting five or the entire five that is on the court at the same time. So it's going to be very, very difficult for them to win a lot of playoff games this year with this type of system in place. And now my third and final reason for this video is going to be that how their team is actually built. So obviously, you know, they traded away Clint Capella at the trade deadline to the Atlanta Hawks. And I mean, really since then, they've been by far the smallest team in the NBA. They're a team full of Oompa Loompas. Like, it is crazy. PJ Tucker is their tallest, biggest player on their starting five, and he is a greatly undersized center in this league. And very early on, it looked like no team had the answer for this small ball experiment. Like, it looked like teams had no answer at all, as they won a lot of their games when they first started this. But right before the season was paused, or postponed, should I say, due to this virus, I mean, teams like the Knicks, Hornets, and Magic were able to beat them, and the only good team that they played was the Los Angeles Clippers, where they lost by 15 to them, and where they went on a 4-game losing streak, and the only reason they stopped that 4-game losing streak was an 8-game win over the Minnesota Timberwolves, and they went 1-4 in the last 5 games before the season was actually ended, which shows a very big chance that teams are starting to figure out how to beat the small ball lineup and how to play against it. When you're losing to the Knicks, Magic, and the Knicks, the Magic, and I forgot who else I said, but still, in the Charlotte Hornets, it's a problem. And the Clippers, although are a great team, should not be beating the Houston Rockets by 15. So it is really showing that maybe teams are starting to figure out, okay, we know how to play this team, we know how to what their weaknesses are, and we know how to exploit them with this lineup they're currently putting out. And the bad thing for the Rockets is, even if they wanted to change the system because teams start taking advantage of it, they can't. As I mean, they really don't have a true dominant starting level center on the entire roster. Now, they have some backup centers that could maybe start, but they're not good enough to start, and if you do start them in the playoffs, they're going to also get exposed. So really, they're all in on this system, and I think teams are already trying to figure out a way to stop it, and they already have found a way to somewhat slow it down. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see what actually happens with this team and how this team is built and how the system's going to work in the playoffs, and I just don't see it happening. I don't see them being able to go onto a deep run in the playoffs with all this that I've said. So yeah, but yeah, that's gonna be it for this video. So if you did like the video at any point, hit the like button and subscribe button. It would mean the absolute world to me. And hope you have a blessed day. Have a blessed day. So you need to have a blessed day. See you in the next video. Goodbye. Boo. Blah, blah, blah.